Hello and welcome to another weekly episode of the Be Your Fridge podcast. On this week's episode, waste not, want not.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, your home of real beer, real breweries, real opinions. The Be Your Fridge podcast. As always, wherever you listen to this episode, make sure you subscribe, hit that ding-a-ling-a-link to be notified of every single episode. You can watch on YouTube and you also watch on Spotify as well. You can show your support by giving us a 5-star rating, and you can show your official support and get every single episode 1 week early by going to patreon.com/beer Fridge podcast. The link is in the description. My name is Gavin. I've got my drinking friends. I've got MD and I've got Scott. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening. We will kick things off as we normally do. Go around the table and see what we're drinking to kick things off.
Let's go around the table.
What's up, brother? What's up, brother? What's up, brother?
Go MD. That is on a loop. I need to stop that.
How many weeks is that going to go on for?
That's going to go for a pretty long time.
I think Gil and I are drinking the same stuff, to be honest. But this was. I was saying to you boys before we got started, I had some rather poor beers on Friday evening, and instead of diving back into the fridge and picking up another one from said brewery or whatever, I turned to our local German beer hall / cafe that is nearby, and basically stocked up on delicious lager pilsners.
The good
that
stuff.
that hasn't been changed, adjusted, or tweaked in hundreds of years, and all is good with the world again, basically. So this is Andex, I think, as it's pronounced. Their special hells, and it is a moderate 5.9%. It drinks like a 4. It just super sessionable, and to be honest with you, it is pillowly soft lager. It's got a really nice like creaminess to it. It's a wee bit caramel and kind of that biscuity vibes. A wee bit sweeter than what I would deem as like normal lager, but I suppose it is on. It's a special hells, so it's kind of got that vibes. It's just delish, to be honest. So
Good stuff. Good stuff. I have deep dived and thoroughly enjoying my box from Baron. I feel a wee bit late to the show with Baron because you guys have had them before and waxed lyrical about it, but you guys, in fairness, you weren't wrong whatsoever. Every single beer at this box has been awesome. Thoroughly enjoyed every single one. I've got 3 left. I'm going to probably try and enjoy 2 while we record this. I am on Rhythmic section. Their lager at 4.6%. Pilsner style beer. This is tasting absolutely phenomenal. Exactly what I wanted for the end of a bank holiday weekend. German malt, obviously, and it's got a wee bit of Motueka in there as well. Just to give it a wee kind of like a wee bit of a limey zestiness on the back of it, which is nice. It does say with dankness and gooseberry, which I'm no quite getting, in fairness. But I like the addition of hops in there. It does give it something. The dankness and the gooseberry, I'm not getting that. However, at a 500ml can at 4.6%, Baron need to be higher up at everyone's list of one of the best breweries in the country because their beers are just fucking awesome. Every single one has been spectacular. Their pales, their doubles, doubles have been even better. And lager is just as good. So if you haven't already, grab some Baron because it's right good. The glass doesn't really date well. I don't know if it's my glass or whatever, but head retention is 0 in it, but it's still tasting really good. Really, really good.
Good beer. Good beer.
Any additional notes, Gilroy, for your beverage?
Oh, just a bit of a history lesson, really. I was having a wee look at what Andex is and where it is in the country. So obviously, as with all really good beer in Germany, it's located in Bavaria. It's on the site of an abbey. Well, previously an abbey, kind of Benedictine monastery. It's now a priory. Apparently, it's tied to the main, was it St. Boniface, the church, the Abbey of St. Boniface in Munich. It's where the St. Boniface's library was sheltered during World War II. It started as it's like a pilgrimage church because the main man there at the time, that's the best way to describe it, I think. In the 10th century, Count Rasso, ancestor of the Counts of Andex, is said to have brought valuable relics of Christ and holy relics. They were selling them at a stall in the Holy Land in Jerusalem at the time. He brought a couple of key rings back with him. He buried them under the main thing at the church, and it then became a big pilgrimage site. And continued on that way. Obviously, wherever you put monks, wherever you can manifest and grow things that end up as really good beer, means you end up with really good beer, and that's where Andex kind of started. The tasting notes on the Hellas, because it's directly translated on the English version of their site. The tasting notes are: the fine poured foam is long lasting. It is pure and cellar fresh on the nose, with soft malt aromas permeated with floral hop tones. Lively and pleasant to drink, it has a light and soft body. Mild sweetness combines very well with the velvety, soft hop bitterness. It has a round and harmonious finish. A genuine, classic, full-bodied Bavarian beer.
Nice.
I don't think I could have described it better myself. It's really clean, but it's also where an Italian Pilsner style beer has got that kind of harshness or that zip to it. That's just soft.
So soft.
Aye, it's incredible. It's got the kind of champagne like bubbles and stuff as well. If you really like good quality, we obviously have waxed lyrical in the past about just how good their Weiss beer is. I would say that I'm also sold on the Special Hellas and would pick it up again. It's most welcome in my fridge.
Definitely.
Shout out, just like we said as we started, shout out to the whoever it is that's doing the selections at Mannerstons near us. They're doing an impeccable job thus far. Long may it continue.
Indeed. Good stuff. Good stuff. Sounds excellent. Sounds like a stalwart in your fridge and one you should be picking up this summer while you enjoy the sunshine. Let's take a look at the latest news in the craft beer world and what's going on.
News update.
Right then, I'll leave the Barney's one to Gilroy if he wants it. Save fiercely Google. And I will let you guys know about on VA Day on the 8th of May. They've kindly extended pub hours. So pubs that usually would shut at maybe 11 o'clock, they're now allowed to open until 1. So VA Day, you're getting an extra 2 hours in the bar. If you didn't do so already. If your pub shut at 1 already, then there's no difference. If it shut at 11, you get an extra 2 hours. So result, happy days. We can always do an extra couple of hours in the pub. Nothing wrong with that. So yep, there we go. That's good for the industry, but again, still not doing enough. But at least it's something. But hey ho, it's better than nothing, I suppose.
As long as there's folk in the pub.
Well, that's true. That is very, very true.
That's
Open
true.
for an extra 2 hours, nobody's there. Gilroy,
Yes. So this is the return. The
Welcome
return. Welcome return. Shout out to Ali and co for the advertisement and kind of tease on this. But Barney's last year for Gravity Festival, just run it. I think it was just kind of ended up around about the same time as Gravity Festival. I think I managed to get cans just before it or just after it. Just after it. But we tried it for the first time at Gravity Festival, and it's their pickle beer. So I'll go and get a can of it.
but it does though. We were like speaking about it before, and literally 45 minutes before we pushed the record button is when Alan and the team at Barney's have announced this on Instagram. So, like, if you've never had it, you'll be like, "What? That sounds awful."
So here it is. Here's the not offending. It's actually delicious item. So this is the original version. So it's pickle ? It is a cucumber and dill goes. It tastes exactly as you would expect it to taste. It's fragrant, cool cucumber coupled with citrusy coriander and fresh dill, giving the pickle-inspired goes a unique, vitalising flavour profile. Sour, salty and fresh. And it's made in collaboration. The original was made in collaboration with the Edinburgh Ice Co. At Summer Hall. We were also based at Summer Hall. It is 4.2% and it's absolutely perfect as a palate cleanser betwixt hefty double IPAs and Belgian Bad Boys, which we were having at a Gravity Festival. And the cans of it were partner approved on my front, who is a big pickle fan. As in deep fried.
All right.
Every variety of pickled cucumber you could possibly imagine. And it's superb. I wholeheartedly concur.
Sorry.
Long live the pickle, keep them coming. This comes out, the rebrew makes an appearance on the 9th of May. So we might be able to, depending on, I'm assuming 9th of May, normally that's trades first. So who knows whether we'll be able to get one before we depart, Mark, but I'll make sure you get one. If not, we'll I'm sure we can. This can be breakfast. This can be breakfast at Edinburgh Airport.
Well, true. It's Barney's at Gravity at the weekend.
Oh, at Thingway? You mean at the Swally?
Oh, it's the Swally. It's not Gravity.
I was going to say it's not Gravity. You're better than
Gravity's a September job. That is a good question. Thanks for putting me on the spot.
If it's been promoted, it would mean that it'd be brewed, so it may. Chances are slim, maybe, but
may make an appearance.
Ali's probably listened this far, so let us know.
Well, maybe.
Well, in fact, I say that it'll be listening a week after we recorded it, so aye.
So
if not,
we'll
everybody's anticipation can build.
Aye, exactly.
It's great. It's good again. No, it is really good. Talking to Ali about it at Gravity Fest, it was like, this is pickle, and he's like, yep. He says, honestly, try it. He says, we thought it was just going to be this weird thing that we'd come up with, and thought, yeah, screw it, we'll put it together for the for Gravity Festival as an event, and we can pour it there. It'll be a good kind of talking piece, and hopefully it surprises a few people. And then they all tasted it, and they were like, holy fuck, that's brilliant. We need to put that in cans. So I did the cannon run, and I think I was responsible for, it'd be single digits, but a percentage of the overall sales. Because I've still got, I think that's one of 2 cans that are left.
I do fancy it. I've got to admit, it's not style of beer and all the rest of it. You know, it never really fills me.
But it fits your format.
But,
like 250 ml or something like that of it.
No.
Just to reset the palate after you've had something.
Agreed.
Like a black pepper and raspberry or black pepper and strawberry can craziness.
Sorbet.
Yeah, and then before you go into, it's hard to go from that straight on to Timothy Taylor. So if you have the pickle in the middle, helps bridge that gap before you go back to Timothy Taylor or was it they were doing? It was Guinness. That was the Guinness and Timmermans collab was available at Gravity Fest last year.
There's nothing hanging the right
That
way
is-
about that at all.
That is a heady mixture. But some of their young lambics that they sold that they had on sale there were unbelievable. It was and it's a great event. So yeah, get it a wee bit earlier this time. Coming into the better weather, hopefully. Pickle beer will
Right.
be great.
Good stuff. Anything you want to shout at, D?
I just wanted to shout out that the old Yakima Chief are working with a couple of British breweries about developing what they're calling their 2025 Forward program, which is based on sort of brewing and community engagement around hops. And they've kind of released as such or granted access to a couple of not yet like commissioned or commercialized HBC experimental hops that
All right.
they've been working on. So Left-Handed Giant are one of said breweries in the UK, and they have been given access to basically a strain of Citra hop. So again, give a HBC with a code, or it's YCH actually, and a number, but it's
It
basically
makes sense for it being Yakima Chief.
Yakima Chief. There you go. 803 if you're looking for this number. But basically this is hop oil extract that is equates to about 200 times the concentrate of the Teehee 90 pellets that we're used to.
Yeah.
And that breweries are used to. So they're doing a bit of kind of education and marketing and stuff with UK breweries to try and incorporate some of this new stuff. So it's, according to the brewer, it's stone fruit sweetness and proper citrus vibes, and it's like at 200 times the concentrate. Obviously, you're not having to use as much, and there's definitely some brewing benefits to it as well, in terms of like kind of hop burn and how long it needs to be in for and all that kind of stuff. So it's quite an exciting thing from like just from the outside looking in. Obviously, I know we've done a wee bit of brewing ourselves and stuff, but nothing to that extent. But Yakima Chief are like world renowned for the best kind of hops in the world, and just seeing them thinking about how else they can sort of navigate this. It's not just as simple as kind of growing and the sort of the new stuff. How can they create easier ways to ensure these hops travel and are still at the level that the Americans are used to brewing with? We know we've had those conversations so many times that the flavouring in the beers, the American beers are just so much better.
Yeah.
And how many times have we had American beers and thought, oh my god, it is sometimes night and day with
What's up,
similar
brother?
hops. But it's just cool, and like you say, the fact that Left-Handed Giant are probably not a bad brewery to be letting loose with hop extract to create some. Basically, the beer they've made, I've got here as well, is a 6.5% hazy IPA, Slumbering Infinity, and it's all made with the hop oil.
Excellent.
I've seen stuff online and stuff, and talking to brewers at festivals, etc., saying that these hop oils and stuff, like, just when we've asked the question, what's going to be a difference, and it just, everyone said it just like gives the beer a bigger punch. in terms of that hoppiness that you want from a beer.
Hmm.
Because we liked and still do like all the kind of Tiki nighty stuff. And then you've got
Honestly, my God.
I love that I found this.
I don't.
But no, we thoroughly enjoyed the T90 stuff. And the HBC stuff is good. But hop oil from people that we spoke to seems to be the way to get more bang for your buck.
It's obviously it is more expensive but when you're not having to use as much of it, and I just think giving brewers new toys to play with, I think it's just such a good asset. And like brewers will make the same stuff over and over, and don't get me wrong, obviously they're like new recipe kind of building is obviously always part of the job, but whether you actually get to implement it or not for commercial because of lines that you need to and all that kind of stuff, but this sort of thing, it is going to only enhance, whether it enhances or not, I suppose I don't know, but at the same time, if you've got a beer that you make over and over again, it's a hoppy IPA, and you're able to use this extract that's going to cut down fermenting time, or it's going to reduce wastage, because obviously the kind of the hop burn, the kind of the crud, as I always call it, like you scrape off the toppy stuff. It's not gonna, I don't know like whether that has an impact or not, but it's just a nice tool to add flavour into beer, I suppose.
Get a bit up the arse. The HBC and HBC stands for Hop Breeding Company. There you go. Hop Breeding Company, which is a joint. That's it. It was kind of thing between. So you've got Haas, you've got Barth Haas, and then you've got Yakima Chief, and this Hop Breeding Company, which is normally the kind of prefix for a lot of the experimental stuff that we see, is a joint venture between Haas and Yakima Chief ranches. So it's all like they're all kind of playing in the same space, or they're all partnering up. But this one looks like it's been found specifically or developed specifically by some of the farmers that are obviously helping support and cultivate the Yakima Chief stuff in the US. So hence the slightly different Yakima Chief labeling on the front. So like your Mosaic hop was HBC 369 or Citra, the original version of this, what we were talking about, was HBC 394. So there you go. I feel like I'm that woman that does the fucking numbers on Countdown. I've done a history lesson now. I've been in and done a wee bit of expansion on the fucking, what does HBC and Yakima Chief hops.
Yeah,
Google is a magical thing, mate.
Over at ChatGPT Corner. It's me. It's me and Gemini this evening.
Oh, I'll get a jingle for that. I could use it. Could just use that.
Apparently, where we're going, I was reliably informed the other night, Mark, that one of the places that we end up on our travels, Waymo is an option, as opposed to Uber or Lyft, which is Waymo, if you don't know, is driverless cars.
No.
So there's a chance we could be in a driverless taxi. I knew that would be right up your strasse.
100%. 100%.
So we can apparently booking a Waymo is an option, I believe, in Seattle.
Nice.
So there you go. Just as you mentioned AI and ChatGPT, you could be ChatGPT in an Uber home at some point in May. So that'll be good fun.
So over the last few weeks, we've spoke about kind of the beer industry and obviously challenges, etc. One thing that popped up while I was looking for this evening's podcast, when I was hunting about, and also kind of caused me to ask a question as well internally with regards to beer wastage. So beer wastage costs the UK hospitality sector 200 million a year. And that is pure beer wastage, or 212 million to be more specific, annually. And companies came in and they're trying to get some data and come up with ways where they can hopefully reduce that wastage, because that money that's wasted evidently just ends up. I mean, Mark, you're probably know more than us. Does that end up more on the customer side or more on the brewer side? Like, my head says a customer's going to pay a wee bit more because of that potential wastage, and those wastage isn't just necessarily like it can go down from everything to pouring techniques, cellar management, operational mishaps and stuff, and that cost in my head ends up on the punter. So if they can find ways in reducing that, then surely that should be overall a good thing for your punters.
I think it depends where the wastage is. Like, I know how much beer gets tossed pre-duty paid, and it sits because you don't sell it, and then you pay. I say pre-duty, but you still pay duty on it. But then there's a claim back for like wastage and stuff. But like, that's money literally down the Gundy. Do you know what I mean? And then, like, pouring technique in a pub is that lands on the pub itself, but then the pub might then decide, well, actually, we've got poor wastage, so the pint price needs to creep up ever so slightly as well.
Yeah.
Some of the pouring techniques you see in bars is hilarious. And
why does that happen? Is that just through a lack of? Because to my knowledge, anyway, as a avid taster, but no very much in terms of a practical sense for serving beer. There's only one beer that I've ever heard of, and we didn't need to mention what it is. The Arthur makes it, or used to, that requires a specific, almost degree-like attention towards pouring it, as in it's in two parts, it's always in the same glass. This is exactly how you do it, 45-degree angle. There's many different ways to cut it. Every other beer, unless there's a specific, you're going to tell me there's a specific knack to it, should just be much of a muchness in terms of this is how you pour it. Don't make an arse of it and don't get a massive head. And also, in terms of cellaring technique, make sure it's at the right temperature down the stairs and that there isn't shit in your lines, effectively, right?
Yeah, well, there's two parts to that, I suppose. Like, the pouring part of it, I agree. Like, there's a technique to pour like draft beer in terms of like beer hitting glass and like at a certain angle, and then
And I'm putting to one side, but just to better correct myself before I get a bollocking, I'm putting aside tapsters who are artists and Budvar and Czech beers to one side, because that's a whole different ball game. I'm talking UK pubs where unless you're really lucky and get Budvar on a side pour, it's just coming straight out of the faucet like everything else is.
But even watching like I remember Redeem gave me a shot at pouring side pour at a festival, and mate, it was the perfect pint of foam I have ever seen. Like it was probably
a great milk pour.
It was 80%. It was 80%, and I do let's say I poured plenty of pints. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, holy man, it's so different. But of a single on a standard pour, there is a few things. Like the top of the bar's one thing, the bottom of the bar's the other thing. Like under cellar and stuff, and cellar management, cooling makes a huge difference. Making sure temperature's right, the type of gas that's the beer's poured through makes a difference. The flow control makes a difference. Some beers react better to being poured slightly slower than kind of faster. Yeah. But it's hard because if you went in the bar and somebody poured you a pint and it had 2 centimeters of head on top of it, you probably wouldn't have, you'd be like, right, cool, that looks like a lovely pint.
Yeah.
The next customer to your right orders the same pint and it's got 2 inches ahead on it or whatever, and then it's like, no, top that up, mate. Right, okay. And then it tops up and then the nozzle's in and you tap on and you see it and it's overflowing. Turn it off, cut the head off, basically. Right.
Yeah.
Everybody, you've all seen that. Everybody that's listening seen that, right? And it's like, get the liquid in. It's like put the liquid in. I don't want the head as such. So, and it's like the carbonation pressure like reduces as it comes up, and then you get less head, and when you cut it off, and then you kind of, you've all seen that Stella advert, isn't it, with the fucking cut the head, right? So I think the part of it is on customer and also on how it's like technique in terms of how it's poured, like because beer's supposed to have a head in the beer, like it doesn't matter what, some beer creates more head on the beer than others, but it is supposed to it protects the beer, it keeps flavor, it traps the flavor in the beer for longer. Do you know what I mean? It actually makes it more drinkable in terms of like with carbonation and all the rest of it. It makes the beer tastier, it makes it smoother, all that kind of stuff, right? But we've drank, you mentioned Budvar, and the Czech pour where it's it's 3 fingers, it's a 4 finger head on it, and and it's sometimes you can go,
but when it tastes that good, but then it's you like, if that was somebody in some numpty in the UK that said they're going to top that up, you would, the tapsters in Prague and that just wouldn't pop, they would just fling it at them, or
True.
empty like drink what was in the glass and then take the glass after cooking, because that's wastage. You don't want to waste beer because it actually protects what's on the good stuff underneath. That's what it's there for. And
there's one guy on TikTok. What's the other kind of Czech style beer? Pilsner
Urquell.
Yes, thank you.
Budweiser.
There's
is it? No, that's is it Asahi or is that they on their own?
No,
Urquell.
I think it's Asahi Solo.
Might still be,
and he runs a bar, and it's like that is the main. I think it might be in London. I don't know where it is, but he's on TikTok, and and fair play to him. And he's like educating folk on. He's like, because he gets punters in, and then the size of that head, and he's not, and he tells you all about the water and stuff, how the beer's been made, and he even said, so where that brewery is situated, in that area. So when it snows or it's icy, they won't grit the roads because they're fearful that the grit that they use and the salt and stuff will seep into the local water and then ruin the beer that they make.
It's
the local
Asahi.
water.
Asahi.
There you go.
See, I knew they were a big gun.
There you go. Which is so I fair play to that guy. I can't remember his name, so apologies, but I doubt he listens. But anyway,
I was thinking Staropramen.
Staropramen's most
Staropramen's Coors.
But the Albert's Slosh, I think the name of the bar is in London, has Tank Pilsner Urquell, supposedly.
I think that's that. It might be that one then, because it is Tank.
Albert's Slosh, Manchester.
There is an Albert Slosh
London,
in
Manchester, Birmingham, London, Liverpool. Wow, awesome.
Because he was explaining what Tank fresh beer is, and in terms of like it literally is the fresh, instead of keg, like it's going to be pretty much brewery fresh because it's like pressurized and all that shit.
So that's
and it's in that like bag thing, which is cool as fuck.
That's what I'm saying. Like Tank beer is just it just adds another dimension to to beer and freshness and just different pour style and all that. And it's just, obviously Bohemia is our go-to for Edinburgh Tank. Do you know what I mean? And even like and dare I say it, and I know it's a bit blasphemy, Gav, you'll love it, but like in Malone's, you'll get Tank Tenants. And
wouldn't mind trying that.
It's a totally different pint. It really is. You know what I mean? And it just adds something
You've
to
got
the
to sit
beer.
in the lawns and drink it.
That is a downside, to be fair. But if you get it,
Can you go outside?
Some of us
Aye.
prefer the pool hall.
Yeah.
oh, that's an old school for sure. But it's just obviously we're talking about wastage in general there, but like the I think there's just so many things, and people don't. It's not your beer. You don't see it. You're pouring. There's so
Yeah.
much gets tossed. But then at the same time, like I think about it from a sales point of view. How much beer do I give away?
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Aye.
is that deemed wastage? It probably gets written off as wastage.
Probably,
At
aye.
some point.
Because that's
But-
like 9 times out of 10, if like you'll be doing it for the same reasons. Because sales is sales at the end of the day, and it'll be a disgruntled customer account, and they're going, oh, there's blah blah blah. Then they pull right or whatever it is, and I'm going to switch. Oh, you know what? I'll give you whatever, how many kegs for free next time. All right, cool. And that's how sales works in general, and how you keep people on your books, etc. So it probably does kind of contribute to it.
But it's
Yeah,
not. It's
I think-
the education piece is massive. Like
Aye.
if you, in terms of pouring, like you've got to be able to save, and it might be playing in the margins, but you've got to look. I suppose it shows a pride in your in the product that you serve and the people that then bring it to you, and that you're
Mhm.
proud to serve X beer if you go to the bother of teaching the people who are there to pour it, who to a certain extent, and they might be jobbing or gap year people, or here on for a short period before they move on and do something else with their life. But a skill like being able to pour a pint means that you can almost work anywhere, right?
Mhm.
And to be what you expect, the expectation is that I would say so if I was going to go and work in a bar, that I would be able to start at the bar, not knowing very much, and leave being able to take and remember 4 people's order in order, just by looking at the corner of my eye who was next,
Mhm.
and being able to pour every beer in the thing, and being able to coax people into telling you the order in the right order so that you get the Guinness early doors, and it's
Christ.
not tacked on the end of somebody's order. Like if you're a pub that sells Guinness all
Nothing
the
worse than that.
time,
Rage.
it's the
But then-
absolute worst.
Just on the waste thing, I agree with you with that. Like, I think that there is definitely skill, and bars that keep good staff and train good staff, you can tell when you're a punter as well. Because they look after the beer, even like the right glassware. How many of these TikToks you've seen with Guinness going into Madri glasses and stuff like that, and and you're just like, but you're talking about wastage, and I had a conversation today actually, and somebody was asking me for looking at cask beer and how drinking habits within the pub have totally changed because people are looking for more lighter cask beer than darker cask beer. So like the conversation was like, if we put a stout or a like a dark ale or something like that on, it tends to sit and we end up wasting a lot of it. So the conversation was around like obviously light cask beer and dark one. I was like, well, in all honesty, I was into pitchy darker beer because of X, Y, and Z. And her thing was like, well, so you can do a pin, which is a 4.5 gallon cask, and then you get a firkin, which is a 9 gallon cask. But no many breweries do pins anymore because it's obviously you've got to buy extra. They're smaller. Obviously, you sell them cheaper. It probably, in terms of labour aspects, it's not obviously. It takes half the amount of time to fill, but you still need to fill, and deal with it. But there's a couple of people asking me about pins today, and over the last week or so, anyway. And it was it's quite an interesting one to help people reduce wastage by giving them a smaller vessel with a beer in it, which obviously in turn keeps the beer fresher that little bit longer because there's less beer in it, which means the pub sells through the beer quicker, which in turn reduces how much they're throwing away. And as a punter, it means that the beer turns itself over, which we all know from a cask point of view is exactly what
It's
you
good
want.
news.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that the beer's been used and all the rest of it. So that's maybe something that's whether we know Johnny and the guys at the Craft Beer Channel are doing a lot of work now around UK cask beer and really trying to get that established as a an ESCO like it's like
World
basically
Heritage deal.
World
Yeah.
Heritage.
I need to have a
recognised.
dig at somebody actually.
Who?
Daily Mail. Catherine Hinks. So she wrote about
Catherine or Catherine?
Catherine. She
Catherine.
wrote about it. That fucking Johnny. Keep cask alive. And at no point in the article in the Daily Mail has she actually even quoted or said that it is Johnny Garrett and Brad that are doing it or the Craft Beer Channel. So fucking you're a bell. Is that like smaller packaging for like potential something that overall we should look at, or bars and stuff should maybe have an option where they kind of get through things maybe quick as they'd like, where punters are visiting the bars less. We said it last week. What did I say, like 75% or whatever it was? So they've got, like you said, so you can keep the beer fresher for longer. You don't need to go. There's less. It hits those two aspects. So less wastage, and then beer's fresher. So customers are going to be happier with the product. Should it be something overall industry wide, regardless of what, whether it's keg, cask, or whatever? Is it something that should be looked at? Maybe not obviously cans and stuff. That's they're fine, but aye.
Keg doesn't really, dare I say, matter unless a pub's really, really struggling with like volume and it's a one, what you tend to find, it's like a one beer pub, which is obviously tenants up this neck of the woods. That you walk in and 95% everybody's drinking tenants, and you've got 6 lines on a bar or 6 draft fonts on a bar, and we do 7 kegs a week of tenants, and we do 1 keg of everything else combined, sort of thing. That's when you basically are saying to yourself, it's not worth you having. So you get a 50-litre keg, you get a 30-litre keg, you get a 20-litre keg, which is a key keg, and then you also get a 10-litre key keg, right? But a 10-litre and a 20-litre key kegs are costly because they are, even though you get eco and e-kegs and stuff like that, they're like the cost to liquid sort of ratio depending on what's in it. So you guys, you'll recognize a 20-litre or a 10-litre key keg when you've been at festivals. They look like the plastic tampon looking thing with the bag inside it, right? And even the e-kegs are supposed to be recyclable, but you've got to send them back to be reused rather than washing them out and whatever you would normally, because they've got the bag lining inside them. And some of our brewer friends might be able to tell me that I'm wrong there because of X or Y. So send me a message and tell me I'm wrong. But other than that, then tough tits. But that's so there is ways of doing smaller package, right? But it's costly to the brewer because you've got to buy I remember asking this question at work and was talking about a different format, and it was like, right, well, let's have a look at it, let's price it. So normally we deal with 50-litre kegs, so it was looking at like a 30-litre keg, for example. Right, so who's the customer? Right, it's Gav's Bar. Right, how many kegs? We want 30 litres of a dark beer because we don't think we'll get through the 50 as much, and we don't want it sitting. Fine. So how many kegs are you going to do a month? Right. Well, we might do a keg a week with a 30-litre rather than it going to waste. Right. Okay. So that's 4 a month. Right. So you get 4, but and then I need to replace 4 because as soon as you've got the 4, I give you them for the month, and then we deliver and pick up, and then I've got another 4 that I need to then have filled ready for you. But then I need another 4 because of if out and ones are filled already, then I need the ones to be replaced and washed and that. So basically we done this calculation and it worked out that whenever you send a keg out, so whenever a brewery has a keg on a bar somewhere, they need 3 other kegs in their cycle to kind of ensure that they have coverage, so that
they need one in on the bar, one replacement, and then one getting recycled as such.
and float. Well, because you think you have a busy week, right? And then you say, actually, you know what, I could do with an extra keg. Right, okay, no problem. So you get an extra one, so you've got 5, which means I've got 3 and then so it works out that it's it's like a 4 cycle, and that's one customer. And then but you've got 20 customers. Do you know what I mean? So it means that's you at 100, that's you up to the 80, 100, right? When you're going to need 100 kegs, because if everybody asks for an extra one, and then you've got that buffer. So it's these kegs are.
And then especially if you're and then if you're diversifying your portfolio as a brewery and giving a bar more options, then that's going to take up space within the warehouse and more, like you said, more labor in terms of that rotation as such that you've mentioned.
Yeah.
So whereas instead of you're filling 30 liters, you have to have so many 30 liters, so many 50 liters. Whereas if you just go, you know what, fuck, we only do 50s like that. That's that.
So you think about
Jesus Christ.
So you think about a brew batch too. So if you take it all the way back to the brewery as well. So even if it's we're doing a special brew and it's a dark beer for Oktoberfest or whatever it might be, right? It's a fest beer. It comes out once a year. Right? It's however many liters. Normally it's 1,500 liters. It's 3,000 liters. It doesn't matter. But so you brew the beer and it gets conditioned. It can't sit in the conditioning tank forever and never, because you need to then, right, we're going to keg it. So you don't want to then transfer half of it out to put it in keg and leave the other half. So where you've got to fill X amount of kegs.
Yeah.
So you've got 1,500 liters, 1,000 liters, 500 liters, it doesn't matter, whatever. So obviously 500 liters is 10, 50 liter kegs. But if you've got 3,000 liters, right? So you need that volume to be able to fill out a tank, but you've already got, you've got the dark ale beforehand that you want in, but now you want the fest beer, right? So now we need to replace. You know what I mean? The scale of that is just, it isn't as simple as, it was quite an interesting conversation when I got told, from a salesman, I was like, give me a couple of 30 liters, it'll be fine. Then you actually start taking those steps back.
Well, that's where my mind has just been blown there. I've went, just make a smaller, just give us a smaller option. Nope. Okay, let's not do that. Because you can see quickly why a brewer would be like, I'm not doing that.
Can you do me a 30 liter? Could you fill me can you fill me a pin rather than a firkin? Well, right, okay. Right, but we know that beer's going to be ready. It's cask as well, which is a different game because obviously normally you pitch yeast into the cask.
So you just said back to the boy, you've fucking no chance.
Aye. Basically, aye. But no, there's ways of doing it. You've just got to be you've got to be organized, and that's the hard thing when you're in sales and okay, I'll do your pin, but the next cash run of said beer will be in 2 weeks' time, right? So when we're filling said casks, let's fill 10 pins, right? Okay, well, does that bar that has asked for it at that specific time need it in 2 weeks' time? They'll probably take it because obviously. Yeah, we'll create it, right? But that's one bar that's going to have, it might take 2 because, right, well, I can replace them. And then you've got 8 left, and then you're like, well, where do they go? And the casks are, as soon as they're filled, the clock's started on them. So you've got a couple of days, and, so...
You've got all these pins you need to shift to people who are who can cope with firkins, no problem, are like, well, that doesn't really do me any favours because I
It's
can
two
shift the
changes,
volume.
isn't it? It's a
Aye.
whether
There's no
if it's the same beer, you might not need to line change as such, but you still need to condition said pin. It might, if you depending on your cask system, like there's two ways. So like the pins and the casks can be stored upright, as in like how you would see a keg sitting, and then it's speared from the top. And they use different like a different I don't know, a bit of kit for a lack of a better word. And it basically it's like one of these like kind of ball. It sits on the top and then it like floats on the way down, so you're not pulling from the bottom because obviously like the yeast and everything sinks, so you get the bits and the dregs at the bottom. Or you have a tilted cask set up. So basically, as soon as you go into a cellar, you could have racking, and then the cask. So like you would have seen it. Gil like the SIBA events. So when you go in and all the casts lined up behind and everything's tilted down the way. So it's a different spear that goes in to those to ensure obviously that you're pulling more from the back because everything's then coming to the front. You know, so and let's be honest, we work in some of these pubs, the cellars are built into like ancient buildings. You're throwing like I mean I've thrown plenty of kegs and casks into holes with pads and big sofas and crash mats and all the rest of it to like get them downstairs, you know, or down wee pulley systems. You know, if you go to the Cafe Royal, they've got a really cool wee, and you literally like put a wee latch on it, and it's got a wee chute, and you slide your casks down into into their cellar.
That's cool.
It's but I just like you say, and this is the funny thing. Like I know I'm like kind of went off on a wee
No.
man, but that's
it's interesting. Like,
but this is all the stuff that you say, and I totally agree. Like you're talking about, it's 200 million or whatever it was on wastage, and every brewery that listens to this will be like, oh, "God, we throw so much away over here," you know, and the time it takes us to fill X, and you know, or we've all seen the videos of tanks not being turned off or opened, and you've got
something failing somewhere in your plumbing works and it ending up all over the floor.
Is this where, like, from a brewery, then, like, obviously, if you do these more experimental beers that are a wee bit more volatile and slightly more unpredictable, is it more like, so then, this is where, like, I'm never starting a brewery. Well, all these bits. But my head would just be like, keep it simple. Like, just do, like, a couple of solid beers. Don't do anything crazy because it just could go tits up.
Well, I could, but you know, I've got to admit that the skill level within the brewers is like it's unreal. Like they think of everything. You know, when you sit and have a blather, and it's you know everything between
it's proper
carbonation,
chemistry. Like
it is mental what they're thinking about. You know, and it's not just about flavoring. Like you know, it's about making a good beer, but it is about making a stable beer. It's about making it like the experience when you open the bottle, when you open the packaging. You know, I remember having issues with like low alcohol beers because cellar was too warm. So when the cellar because of the lack of so obviously when you make beer normally you throw the yeast in, the yeast eats the sugar, and then it creates the alcohol. When the lower alcohol beers, obviously there's the yeast and stuff that you use and the grain that you use. It doesn't eat as much of this sugar, so there is a wee bit more sugar in the beer, and you've got to obviously filter it out and and all this kind of stuff. And I had an issue where a customer's cellar was like 20 degrees, right? It was 25 degrees. It was roasting, and their thing was the beer. Oh, the beer's fobbing. The beer's fobbing. We're talking about wastage. We're getting loads of waste. And you're saying, right, well, what's wrong? Right, we'll try and pour a beer, and it's coming out like, you know, like foam, basically. All right. But you go down the stairs into the cellar, and the cellar's 25 degrees rather than being 3 degrees or 5 degrees. And you're like, the beer's re-fermenting in the keg. because of the sugar and the heat. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
like you sit and some out in the sun. You know what I mean? And you can see it like fizzing away or whatever.
Mhm.
And like that was exactly what was happening. And that's not on the brewery. The brewery's made a really great beer, and and hit all the points that they need to, and done all the testing that they need to ensure that it is stable and whatever. But it goes out into said environment, and then has an impact on wastage
So
and stuff.
then,
And it
so
just
then
shows
going full circle, then with regards to wastage, it's more apparent to me that a lot of that probably 200 ml. Yes, breweries, there is issues occasionally, but the beers just get tipped. But it appears apparent to me that a large percentage of that is purely on the actual bars and the venues itself in terms of cellar management and staffing and staff just pouring techniques.
Aye. Oh, totally. There, I would lean on. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's a reason that breweries are made with drains in the floor. Do you know what I mean? Like everything that's the most
Oh,
expensive.
there's stuff that goes all the time. I mean, how much water gets in, especially us up here. Although businesses do have rates and stuff to cover, but obviously it'll be worse in the south of the UK. But the water that's used to brew X many litres is insane between heating and cooling and everything in between. And then you've got everything else, but it's all just smacks of trying to, on the retail side, the margins are so slim that what can you cut a corner on? Well, the quality of staffing. We didn't need somebody who we need to pay who's of a level of training that means we need to pay them X when we can get somebody in off the street that's aged to be able to pour beers at Y. The kit is good enough that anybody could pour it. I mean, it'll not be long. I mean, and you see it loads of places because you see the now it's what we'll do is we'll bring you a tower that's got beer in it. So we'll just pour your beer into a tower and then you and your mates can pour it out for you. Hang on now. Wait a minute. That's the beer equivalent of a self-serve checkout.
Yep.
It's like the vending machines that you can go to and you stick the beer in it and it pours up for the bottom at events and stuff like that.
They are cool though.
But their gimmick, but it's a self-serve checkout. They're getting you on convenience. That's not. It's the skip the queue, and you can date yourself, but then you're totally ruining the experience. That's not the whole point in going to the whole point in going to the bar is to have the beer served by somebody who can do their thing to pour it in the best glass in the best way possible, and no by you. If I want to pour beer in the house, I'll just use my Perfect Draft.
Well,
you want to come out and I want to have it poured by somebody else who can.
I'm happy to pour it, mate, and at a bar, right? That's not the thing. Like, if the four of us were sitting at a bar and we got a big picture tower thing, right, and it was 4 pints, and it was at the table, and it was a bit of hanging, it was icy and all the rest of it. The bit that annoys me about it is
it's
that
cooking lager by the time you get to pint 3.
Bingo. Exactly.
It could be the best. Well, it could be the best double IPA. It could be Trillium. It could be anything. If you put it in one of the plastic towers and sit it out on the bar side for however, or they things like, you can't honestly tell me that the beer that they put in the thing, because I mean they know how much folk are going to waste it. The places in Krakow and things like that, where it's you and your mates can have your own tap at the well, and I'm not saying the beer's rotten, but it's not going to be like it's no Budvar side pool they're letting you mess about with for you and your mates with an hour for like.
But I would rather pour pish beer, mate, because like you're getting what you're getting. Like it
exactly.
was the wastage on Budvar. If we were sitting pouring it, we would probably get the hang of it pretty quickly. Don't get me wrong, but the first 4 pints
would be awful.
It would be horrendous, and I'm like,
but
no.
I'm the same with the 5 litre mini kegs. I'd rather just go to the place where they make it and let somebody who can they're doing pour it.
I would rather pour it a bottle, mate, because as soon as you open the keg, that's it. It's right, and you're fizzing away. Are you drinking the 5 litres right there and then? Maybe.
Well, if you're Callum, aye.
If you're Callum, aye. No.
And I suppose I could have I could force myself to have the 5 litres in one go if needs be. But it's just I just would prefer. I didn't want beer to become I really didn't want beer to become self-serve because that's the next corner. And I'm not saying that it's not a corner cut, but it's about reducing what they see as unnecessary expenditure on things like high quality training and high quality staff. Not just for a customer service perspective is one thing, but being able to actually get the liquid out
Aye.
in the best format and look after it. Because
eliminate that like you said, Gil, eliminate when that customer going, go and put a wee bit more heat in that or something. You eliminate that because they've poured it. It's their fault.
Customer's wastage. Aye. The thing is, from a bar's point of view, they're pouring 5 litres, whatever, at 3 litres into a funnel, and there's no real skill to it. It's pour it in, hand it over. There's money for 3 litres. We've poured into it's like pouring into a bucket. Do you know what I mean? It's really difficult to miss, and there's no having to worry about the art of it as such. Whereas, that any wastage is on. Like, well, we've been paid for our 3 litres. Thanks for coming. That's full. But there's no.
Right, you need to get it out of there in a way that you can drink it. I just would rather it didn't go like that. I'd much rather.
I agree. I actually think, like what you're saying, I think it's got 2 chances. I think that you're going to go that way, Gil, in terms of like self-serve, take everybody away, everybody will walk up to a vending machine, you'll put your money in, you'll swipe your card or whatever the heck it is, and you'll get whatever. Or it's going to go the complete opposite way, right? Where there'll be certain places, and they'll pop up everywhere, where it will be about the white glove service, basically, where it'll be the best of the gear, right? But you'll be going in and getting side poured Budvar poured for you with somebody with the white gloves, all the rest of it on. It's going to cost you 12 quid a pint, right? But there's the experience is part of it rather than like taking it away. And I think that would be quite an interesting like dynamic as such, because you can go out for a couple of cheap pints, right? But you've got to go and right, let's go and play with the vending machine now. Or you sit and and the art of that you think about. People don't go into wine bars and they hand you a bottle of wine and then say there's a corkscrew, open it yourself, do they? Do you know, like some places do, and you even BYOB, they're opening it for you. They're pouring wine in, the champagne kind of treatment, all that kind of stuff. And beer deserves, maybe not, like I'm not saying it is the working man's drink, let's be honest, but at the same time, there is the pricing of it is starting to creep up to the extent where there is part of it for me is the experience. It's about understanding what goes into said beer.
This is why that premium range of lager that we mentioned last week is probably seeing an upturn in terms of who people like wanting it, because they're like, well, if I'm paying 6-7 quid a pint, I'm making sure
like it with words.
Exactly.
And
we want it in the actual liquid. We want it if it's premium. 100%. Like I want it to have liquid gold infused through it or something. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know, but just I'm not going to harp on to that point I made last week. Like premium for me starts local.
Yeah.
Right. It's go to your pub next door and find, premium isn't fucking macro.
No.
Like Menabrea isn't premium, right? Do you know what I mean? It's no. Staropramen isn't premium. Peroni for me still leans on premium, but it is when you're getting it in Italy. And Peroni Red is fucking awesome, right? And I'll die on that hill, right? Because it's such a good pint. But there is certain there's levels to it, and
exactly.
there is people that spend a lot of time and a lot of effort to make stuff that is premium, and it's to do with ingredients. We spoke about the Yakima Chief stuff earlier. Like there's people like technology and stuff that's out there that money's getting invested into said these beers and whatever else that's going on to try and make them more premium, make them more sustainable, make them more flavoursome for whatever. That for me is premium, not just like, right, well, we've bought a premium brand, let's stick a premium,
It's like you said with Yakima Chiefs and Cloudwater, like Lieutenant Giant, excuse me. Like that, as well as I know, as soon as we hear that beer's released, like we're going to want a piece of that. Granted, we're talking craft there, but like, aye.
But it is.
I need to make sure I talk about this beer because it's potentially I left it to last in the box, and I left it to last because it wasn't the highest ABV in the box, and assuming it wasn't going to be as good. Boy, was I fucking wrong. Terribly wrong. Baron, and it is the beer called Henry Cooper. Shazam. Oh, I need to get like a zoom in camera.
Wow.
Henry Cooper with the Pooty Cat. It's 5.2%. It literally, the first words it says is Sabro warning. And fuck, it's no wrong. It is not wrong whatsoever. Hop wise, we've got Citra, Cryo in there. We have got as well Citra 90, Sabro's in there as well, and Sabro 90 is in there as well. This is fucking ridiculous, by the way. Sabro, Citra, fermented with yeast. We've been trying out with which offers, oh yeah, there you go, offers peach and pineapple aroma. I opened this beer, poured it, and you might have seen my face going, whoa. It's one of those beers when you pour it, you crack the can, you pour it, and the aroma just shoots right out the vessel and smacks you in the face, and you go, whoa, holy shit. And those types of beers get me really excited. And this is brilliant. Fucking brilliant. Absolutely love it. So yes, Henry Cooper from Baron, 5.2%. Labels coming after that, and it's, if I find space, it's going somewhere. There's not a lot of space.
That's when you know it's a good beer, when the labels comes
Not
off.
a lot of space, to be honest. So I will find one. There you go. I've got one beside mango and coconut, Old Silver Lassie. That's going beside there.
I can't believe you put that label up. That's terrible.
Well, I've got beak anchovies. I've got verdant putty. There's a few. There's a few, but no, 100%. If you get a chance to grab that beer, do so. Especially if you like Sabro, it's aye. It's exactly what it says. Warning, Sabro. Grab the fucking beer.
At least it's giving you Sabro. Like if you're going to write that on there, then as we say, do it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactamundo. Anything else you guys want to add to this evening's proceedings? I've got nothing else written down, to be honest.
Well, good.
Oh, good. In the
Lovely
hood.
jubbly. Lovely jubbly. As always, then, whenever you listen to the episode, make sure to subscribe, hit that ding-a-ling link to be notified of every single episode. You can also, if you're on Spotify, you can watch. You can also head to YouTube as well, where you can watch us as we record. You can see us fiercely Googling while we're checking our notes, etc. YouTube.com/Beer Fridge Podcast. Subscribe, follow, all the usual stuff. Give us a 5-star rating if you would love to do so. That would be very kind of you. You can show your official support as well by going to patreon.com/Beer Fridge Podcast. We get every single episode early, and the link is in the description. Until next time, for myself, Gav, MD, and Gilroy, cheery bye.
One,